Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Hayley, how are you this morning?
Great.
How good is it? Our first in-person podcast. For those that are watching, usually it's via a video call, so they'll notice that we're in person in our office doing our first in-live one. So thanks for being our guinea pig.
You're welcome. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. So lots of questions today around your business, goals, challenges over the years, and of course marketing. I know how proactive you are from a marketing perspective, so we're going to talk a whole lot around that so our listeners can get some tangible advice and bits and pieces to use in their business. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Perfect. By way of introduction, maybe tell everyone a bit about Premier Painting, what you do and who you do it for.
Okay, Premier Painting Company based in the eastern suburbs for about 22 years now.
Yep.
23 years. Predominantly working in the strata space. Also do a lot of residential and a lot of government, including government health, museums, Sydney museums, etc., etc. We are approximately 22 employees at the moment.
Wow, decent team.
So, and we've been growing steadily over the last few years, even though we've had a few hiccups with the GFC and COVID.
Yep.
We've managed to carry on and grow all the way through. So
Perfect. I like it. Maybe tell a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like.
Day to day, so I'm the managing director. So under me we have two estimators who are project managers as well. I do a bit of project management also. So the estimators go out and estimate a job. If we win the project, they then take a supervisor and a couple of painters to introduce them to the client.
Yep.
And then the project manager will oversee the project on a every other day or every third day basis.
So every project has a project manager and a supervisor allocated to it.
Yep.
Is that unique in your industry?
It's fairly unique, yeah. There's not many companies, especially our size. We're more of a boutique size, but we pride ourselves on our customer service.
Yep.
That's where we come from. There's many painting companies out there, and early on in the piece, I realised that our point of difference should be customer service.
Yep.
So that's where we give everyone the peace of mind of a daily interaction with a supervisor, but also every other day or every third day a project manager to come around to make sure the client's happy with everything that's going on.
I was going to say it would make the project manager and the supervisor feel accountable, but it would make the client feel like that they're being loved.
Yes.
And that you care about the project that they're working on, especially if you're doing work with government and strata, that like there's some serious work there, right? So,
yeah, 100%. And a lot of clients, they need to be able to converse with the painters and the supervisor, which they can. But some people would prefer not to talk to the people who they're seeing daily. If there is a slight issue, they'd like to talk to someone who they can sort of say, can you tell the painters this, that, the other, if there is an issue. It's
Sure.
not often we have them, but it gives the client confidence that they're covered from every base.
Avoid that conflict in that area or in that workplace.
And our project managers are trained to do that, so they come in and they work out any issues before they become issues, to be honest, which we find works really well for us.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
Tony, tell us about how long have you been in business and also how you started?
Okay, so myself, been painting for probably 30 years. I used to work for a painting company out here, just one guy and probably two or three of us with him. I quickly realised I'd want to start my own business one day. Went to TAFE, got a couple of courses under my belt, and then the real time came when there was a house storm in Sydney 20 years ago. I had just had business cards made and just handed a couple out, and all of a sudden I got a fax, which we use in days, with 25 painting jobs on it. So it was time to leave where I was and set up on my own and kind of not look back since then.
So when you said you were working for someone, but you knew that you wanted to go out on your own, everyone listening, or most of the people listening, would have gone and felt that emotion in some way, shape or form, like felt that instinct or felt that feeling in their gut that I want to go and do my own. So what was the trigger or what made you feel like that, do you think?
Okay, I felt I could expand on what I was doing. I was working for, as I say, one guy and probably two or three of us. And he was happy at that. He was probably, late 60s, and he was content with where he was, and he had a good life and a good little business. However, I felt I knew enough at this point. I've been with him probably 4 years. I realised that I felt that I could do this and I could take it to the next step, and I wanted to try it. And I was upfront with him all along. We spoke about it several times. I had the odd job for a friend or family, which I went and done on my own, and he had a month off at one point, and we went and worked. I went and worked for someone else for a month, and I realised then I can do it. And the opportunity come along, as I said, with the house storm, and the facts come through.
So tell us about that magical fax. Where did that come from, and who were the 25 houses on it? Who sent it to you?
Okay, so this is going back a few years.
Yeah, that's 99 hailstorm, right? The one that hit Kensington
Paddington and Maroubra everywhere.
I remember in my grandparents' backyard, we went there that night, and it was like the house was flooded, and the whole of Kensington and Kingsford was flooded, the homes. I remember the next morning, I put my hand in the grass, like wrist deep, and I still pulled a chunk of hail out. Wow. And it was the next day. That was the size of the hailstorm that night. It was like a war zone when you went there that night. Yeah, it was insane.
It was.
Sorry, go on.
No, it was. Okay, so around that time, I was talking to my boss, months or so before that, saying I'm going to go on my own one at some point. So I got some business cards made up. At the end of my street in Bondi was a printer's, and they printed me some business cards. However, I don't think I even had a mobile phone at that time. So I had my landline phone number, and I didn't have a fax. So the guy in the print company said, put our fax number on it. So I put his fax number on my business card. Yeah. So when this hailstorm happened, I'd given them out to the local real estate, one of the real estates. The guy in the print shop rang me up and said, you've got a fax, you better come down here. So I went down to see him, and it's like 2 pages long with 20, 25 or 23 jobs on it. They said, like, our painter we've got is just overwhelmed with the work we got. Are you able to take on?
So it was from a real estate agent?
Real estate agent, yep. So at that
and did the printer take a cut of your job?
He just said, can I have your next lot of cards to print? Yeah. Which he did. So yeah, that's exactly how I started, and I was off from that point, and then we just got straight into insurance work from that point onwards.
Yeah, okay. So the insurance companies were then giving you work as well on the back of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So has it always been Premier Painting?
Yes, been Premier Painting. I got the name. I've got to get the year right here. Maybe 99, 98, 99. Being English and a keen, avid football fan. The Premier League in England had just started, and they was aiming to be the biggest league in the world. And I knew straight away that they was going to be. And I thought, why not nail my flag to that ship and call myself Premier Painting. And it proved to be right. The Premier League went on to be massive, and I'm glad I went along with them.
Absolutely. And you're an Arsenal fan, Ange Postecoglou. He's doing well at Tottenham, isn't he? So far,
so far, yeah. 1 out of 1 or 2 out of 2, is it? Yeah, he's doing well, and I think he couldn't do much worse than last year.
Said like a true Arsenal fan. Love it. Maybe let's talk industries.
Yep.
So you touched on at the beginning that 65% of your work is strata.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about? And tell us more about that.
Yeah, okay. So when we started, obviously with a house storm, after that it died down a bit. So we advertised in traditional ways. Yellow Pages was the go them days, and the local paper, Wentworth Courier, where I was. So we opened up the Wentworth Courier and the Yellow Pages. There was 200 painters in there easy. And I very quickly realised, I need a point of difference, because why are they going to, pick me out of 200? There was people there called A painting, just so they got front of the list. Things like that, which I thought was not the sort of method I wanted to be stood out for, because we've got so many A's in front of them. So I knew we had to get a point of difference. Around that time, Dulux started a program called Dulux Accredited.
Okay.
The way Dulux operate, they'd apparently done one years ago, but it didn't quite work for them. They get a lot of calls a day. You can imagine, being the biggest paint company in Australia, they get a lot of calls a day from people wanting the names and recommendations for painters. Dulux make paint, they do not apply it at that point. So, however, they did say there's an opportunity here for us to partner up with some painters who've got the right work ethics that we like.
Yeah, okay.
So they put a program together called Dulux Accredited, invited us to join. The rep comes and sees you, talks to you about your work, looks at some of your work, goes and sees some of your clients, get a feel for you. I found out later that they're really looking for customer service. That's what they're looking for. Obviously, you've got to be able to paint, but customer service is their key point, because what they don't want is people doing bad customer service and then giving them a bad name.
For sure.
So that's what I was looking for. We fitted that mould, and what we got back from it, we was allowed to use the Dulux logo. So now I'm advertising in Yellow Pages and Wentworth Courier, and I've got the Dulux accredited logo. I think we was one of the first 1 or 2 people in the eastern suburbs with that. So that helped us stand out.
Yep.
So that lifted
Credibility,
trust, everything else that goes with a big brand like Dulux.
So people think, I love that story, because you think about the journey, the fax machine, the business cards, real estate, good customer service, Dulux. Like, people think that just happens overnight, right?
Yeah.
But there's a journey that you go through to get to the point where you have to have some credibility.
Yeah.
It's hard to get credibility on day one. So I like that journey.
Yeah.
So then you got the Dulux stamp. Then what?
So a great example of what you just said, the journey. Went with Courier, advert. A guy rang me one day and said, I've got one door to paint. And it was in Vaucluse. And I was really busy at the time.
Hope it's a big door.
Yeah. So, but yeah, okay, no problem. I went and done it myself. I had one guy working for me at the time, but I said, I'll come out, because I didn't know who this guy was. And it was in Vaucluse House, which is out in Vaucluse, lovely house, open to the public. So I went up there, looked at it, and it was one door. But the guy was kind of testing me out. He wanted a reliable painter. They are part of the Historic Houses Trust of Australia at the time.
Wow.
Right.
So he had 6 or 7 properties like that in his portfolio, but he was looking for a new painter and he wanted to try us out. So he called us up, looked at the door, watched how I painted it, checked I used undercoats, what prep I'd done, was happy with that, and then started giving us work there.
So did you know when you were painting the door that the background?
No.
He told you afterwards.
He didn't say he was from Historic Houses Trust, he just gave us his name.
Yeah.
So again, it's lucky I went to it, and I think he only picked us out because we was the only Dulux accredited painter in the magazine at the time, Wentworth Courier.
Yeah.
So one door led to 15 years of working for the Historic Houses Trust, doing all the museums, Government House, many properties that they own, Parramatta.
So between a good name, Premier Painting, Premier, they're in Vaucluse, they want to work with someone of leadership status and Premier, plus you got the Dulux. So simple marketing stuff there, but it's a journey to get to that point, then gives you the next start that you need.
Yes.
Yeah, love it.
Exactly it.
And it's also like being able to do your job well, it's a given. But then the quality and the customer service that you actually go an extra mile.
Yes. That's where I believe now is where you got to be. Most people can do their trade. You're not going to get into a trade and not be able to do a plumber, electrician. You're not going to be able. You've got to be able to do your trade well, same as painting. But it's the extra bit. It's the extra value you can add to that client.
Yeah. And I think from what we know that majority of your team, they're all internal employees.
Yes. We choose that. I did use contractors early in the early days, but for the work we was doing, I realised my clients, i.e. the museums, etc., they wanted people who are managed correctly. When you have contractors, you lose an element of the management, because a contractor is allowed to take a job at a value, and you can't control them as much, whereas you can control your employees via what they wear, how they present themselves, time they start, time they finish. You lose a bit of that control with a contractor. Whereas when we're working in these government buildings and public buildings, you need that control. You need to be able to control and say, look, there's a school party coming in, we need to stop for an hour and clear up and whatever. Whereas if you're doing that with a contractor's working on a price, they're not so keen to pack up for an hour and wait for the school to go. So that's where the employee part of it come in really well for us, and I realised then there's a market out there to be set up the way we was, and that's what we target.
So you've got the Dulux accredited, Vaucluse House and other jobs. So then how do you get then into strata?
Yes.
How does that journey come about?
So the next one was we got a strata job by luck. I think it's probably one of the first jobs we got, but it was really big for us. It was about $200,000 job. This was 15 years ago or so. One guy, we'd done his house and he'd moved into a block of units in King's Cross.
Yeah.
He said, we're getting quotes to paint the outside, can you come and have a look? We put a quote together, we won the job, and it was done on swinging stages, a little bit of scaffold, and all these other access issues, which we hadn't done before, so looked into it all. My rep at the time was a Dulux rep, and I'd been told that when you're doing a big project, if you get your rep involved, they do what's called a pack card, which is a project card. You write down all the paint you buy. Dulux keep a track of it. Make sure you're using the right amount of paint to do that particular job.
Yeah, right.
When you can show all that evidence at the end of the job, Dulux will give the client an extra warranty, 10-year warranty.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So that looked good to the client. Now,
so if you follow the instruction of Dulux,
yes,
they will carry on that warranty.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that worked well for us. But doing that, the rep who was in touch with the master painters at the time spoke to a representative of the master painters, said, told me there's an awards night, and why don't you enter this building into the awards for the master painters?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try it, put it in, and
For the strata building.
For the strata building, so I entered, for a strata job, strata project, and we went to the awards night and we won the award for best strata job over 50,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And at that point, that evening, a member of the master painters come up to me and said, do you want to come and sit on the board
Right.
of the master painters? So we're looking for members who are, invested in their trade like yourself.
Yeah.
So I went along, become a member of the board, and probably for 15 years, I was sat on the board and got up to vice president for a couple of years.
What a journey.
So
people think, I think people these days look at social media and they look at businesses and they think overnight success, and it's not. Like, look at that journey that you've told us about so far, and you're still going.
Yeah, still going. Still going. But you've got to do all the little steps, and if you're not out there, you don't get them opportunities.
Yeah.
If you don't take this job, if you don't join Dulux Accredited, if you don't join the master painters, you don't get the opportunities to really be at the cutting edge of your industry.
Yeah, you can't just sit at your desk and hope the work's going to come in.
You've got to put a bit more out into it, and that's led on to me. GFC come along. I went to see a marketing company them days before you guys was around.
Yep.
They pointed me. They said the GFC's coming.
We actually started the year before GFC.
Did you really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they said, pick an area you do where they're not going to be affected. Who's not going to be affected by the GFC? We thought about it, and we looked at strata because we thought everyone's got to pay levies still. Levies are still going to get collected. A lot of the residential market had dropped because no one knew, how much work they were doing. So that's where we moved into strata at that point. So then I started aiming my marketing plan was to include a lot of strata. Then I got involved with the strata community Australia, which in them days was called the ISTM. So I joined them, and after several years sat on a committee there for suppliers, which I still do today. And again, you're at the cutting edge of your industry. You know what's going on. You hear the new law changes in strata so you can react appropriately and be on the front foot rather than getting left behind.
I think the theme I'm hearing already so far today is that you always knew that not only marketing was important by your name, the Dulux accreditation, all that stuff, but you knew that just being proactive in business was important. And I know that sounds super obvious to someone like you, but for a lot of listeners, if they haven't experienced it, it's hard to know where to start. Yeah. And I think you just need to start.
Yeah, you've got to do anything.
Be proactive in everything every day. Every day matters, right?
Yeah, every day. And one door opens, you can guarantee if it doesn't help you that door, it's kind of going to open another one somewhere else.
And you never know. Like, look at the guy with speaking of doors, no pun.
Yeah.
Look at the one door, right?
One door.
What he gave you.
Yeah, we ended up painting Government House.
So through all that journey, what do you think, and you can talk historically or now, biggest pain points in your business?
Right at the moment is labour. Obviously, the last couple of years with COVID, etc., everyone's suffering labour. So the problem we've had is obviously recruiting. We've still got to work. There was a lot of backup for painting during COVID with the lockdowns. A lot of people put their painting projects on hold, not cancelled, but put them on hold. Obviously, painting is not an emergency trade like electrics or plumbing or whatever. So people put the painting projects on hold. However, as the lockdowns opened, the project started pouring out, and we needed staff and
backlog
of staff, as you know. So that's been our biggest pain point. So I come to the decision of upskilling the staff I've got for a couple of reasons. A, you can always benefit by upskilling your staff, but B, you retain them easier, and that's a big issue as well. The prices are rising, inflation's rising, wages are rising, people are getting promised, large amounts of money temporarily, and some painters are tempted by that. So when you can upskill, teach them more, put people on scaffold courses, on rendering courses, on working at heights courses, design for painters, to keep upskilling, has kept a lot of our key staff employed by us and keeps them motivated. They're really motivated now, so we're really pleased where we are.
And do you think, so if we talk changes in running a business, what do you think the biggest change has been over the 20 odd years that you've had the business?
Obviously the marketing is massive. I mean, as I say, Yellow Pages and Wentworth Courier with 200 other people. Now social media, there's just as many people on social media, but you can pinpoint your market a lot easier.
Sure. With
social media.
Yeah, okay.
And digital marketing. So, as you know, we do marketing plans with yourselves. We can actually look around, see what's working for us, and bespoke our adverts, targeting the exact strata managers, building managers, government employees who are taking facility managers. We can actually target the people directly to their phones.
Yeah, okay.
Which is different, completely different.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to dig a bit deeper into marketing. Before we do that, so lots of negative talk out there. For one, I don't listen to the news. What is your business doing to keep things positive and ignore all of that mayhem?
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I subscribe to a few newsletters from construction industry, master painters, HIA, etc., who send out reports. The reports coming out in the last few months have been very negative. Interest rates nearly trebled. That's going to have a massive effect in the next 6 months to a year on residential clients, plus others. I mean, some of the big builders at the moment have actually stopped building residential, just put on pause some of the projects they had lined up because of the factors out there, the lack of the workforce out there, the high interest rates, and the actual costs of building in the last year or so, in some cases, have doubled. So there's three major items there, which is not ideal for large builders to go out to the market and start big projects. How does that affect us?
Or how are you being positive about
So how are we being positive about that? So you've got to look at what's going to affect you and look at what's not going to affect you and steer your ship. You need to be flexible. When I said earlier, the best part about marketing nowadays is you can be flexible. You can turn your ship around and point your advertising dollar to a completely different area where you think is going to be successful in the next year to 2 years. What I'm doing at the moment, I'm again turning right back onto strata and government. Yeah. When times are tough, the government usually put money into infrastructure. Councils, local councils get given more grants from the government. They start spending. I mean, when you look through COVID, the government threw lots and lots of money at health, hospitals. We made lots of contacts in local hospitals, done a lot of work for hospitals during COVID. And that will happen again in infrastructure. So our marketing plan will change to direct us in that direction. So we will be looking at strata again because the levies. We'll be looking at local governments. We'll be looking at federal government stuff. So schools, healthcare, and government infrastructure.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that our teams, I should say, talk about with our clients is positioning. So how you position your business and your brand in the minds of your customers where there's the least amount of competition. Now, you've been going since I've got some notes here. You've been going since 97.
Mm-hmm.
So as a business, and we obviously, you do work with Little Marketing. So we position you as leaders in painting services since 1997. And the reason we do that is we want to talk about the fact that you have been doing it for a long time, which touches on the bit that you said before around that reliability, that trust, that service level, and that experience. What do people, the fact that you position yourself like that, how do you think it treats you, how do you think you get treated differently by your clients when they interact with you versus if you're a one-man band?
Okay, so you're absolutely right. I think the amount of years in business and all the different levels I've been to, from one-man band, two-man band, right up to, having a team.
25-man band.
Yeah.
It's a big band.
Yeah. And working from, a storm damage unit into a government house or museums. You learn to realise what the different client wants. The residential client wants something. They want, look after their house, their home. The strata manager, who may have 150 properties under their portfolio, they need efficiencies. They need you to be a good painter, but they need you to get invoices in quickly, quotes back to them quickly, return phone calls immediately.
Yeah.
Because they cannot afford to have 150 people, ringing them up saying, where's my painter, where's this, where's that. Yeah. They need to be able to rely on a company to take care of all that for them, and we pride ourselves on that, on our admin department as well.
And they wouldn't put up with it if you're not. And so the fact that you position yourself as a leader, they're not going to work with people that aren't. Because that's a reflection on them. If he's got 130 properties that he's managing and he's got painting companies that are letting him down, then he's not going to want
to. If you're going to make his life harder, his day harder, he's going to pick the company that makes his life easier. So that's what we realised early on, and only by asking the question, I used to send out an email to our strata manager saying, what can we do better?
Yeah.
What's the worst part of employing a painting company? Yeah. And they, a lot of them will tell you the honest truth. We need quotes back quicker. We need this back quicker. So,
is that what they say?
So okay, this is. So we get the admin team together and say, right, what can we do? Let's put a system in place where now we every quote's got to be back within 5 days, and they get an email saying, thanks for your quote, thanks for giving us the opportunity. You'll have it back within 5 days. If you need it beforehand, email the office and we get it quicker. Yeah. So it's just little things like that. It's just the consistency and it's the trust that you build up. We get back within 5 days every time. So the strata manager knows when he asks us to do something, he's got his client, and they go, yep, you'll have it within the next day or so. It's coming.
Reliability.
Yeah,
and I know you guys add a lot of value to your strata managers. Like, I remember we created a strata manager checklist.
Yes.
So just those little things that help them do their job easier.
Yeah, 100%. You've helped me. We put a little webinar together on how to procure a painter, and we went through from the beginning stage on picking your colours, getting someone in, getting the scope of works written up, specifications. We get the manufacturers in to write specifications, getting all them little steps in place. Sending it to the strata manager, so all he does is email it out to his client, and it makes their life a lot easier when they're going through a painting project. So,
and there's another part of marketing, right? Education.
Yeah,
it's not just about telling everyone how great you are, but showing, as you said, Hars, the value that you can give them by educating them and making their life or their job easier, or making them look good in front of their boss, or
actually helping them if you can, which is what we're trying to do. And again, it goes back to if he's got a choice of 5 painters and one's really helping them with issues like that, and one's not even returning phone calls, one's going to last a lot longer than the other.
So if we cover some of the marketing you spoke about today, you used to do Yellow Pages, you've got the Dulux accreditation, you can do webinars, you mentioned you do social media, you do emails that go out to your database, you've got the website, you do some SEO work, you do some AdWords work. Like your business, if I look at all of the marketing that you do, it's a wide-ranging piece of marketing. Yes. It all comes back to the fact that you're leaders in what you do, but you've got all these touch points, or as an accountant once told me, all these fishing rods in the pond, like getting work.
Yep.
Tell me a bit about the fact that you've got all those fishing rods out there and that they're all bringing you work. Tell me kind of how that feels as a business owner, or your mindset around that.
So to be perfectly honest, so I think when I started for you guys, it was around COVID.
It was beginning of COVID.
Beginning of COVID. Yeah. So COVID is another one which none of us had ever come across before, a pandemic, what's this, a lockdown? What's a lockdown going to do to business? You know, obviously no one knew. So obviously I seeked advice of yourselves, and we put together a plan. We thought, like, let's just work through it. What you got to do is let people know we're here, and if we can't work, we're going to be here when it all ends, when we come out. Yeah, and that's what we done, and we kept in touch with people, and I don't think we missed a beat. From when we was allowed to work, we never missed a beat, and we kept working, and we're still as busy now as we was before COVID, so if not busier. So the whole...
What's the lesson in that for everyone listening?
The lesson in that is do not stop marketing.
Yeah.
Specifically in the bad times.
Yeah.
Because in bad times is when everyone else is unsure of what's going on, but they need to know that someone's reliable and still around. Even if it's just a newsletter or a social media post that just says, like, we're here, you know, we've just got some new masks or whatever we had in them days and things like that. We wasn't working, but we was around, and just people needed to know that we was here and we was around, and when you're ready, we come back and help you.
One line I always use, and Hales has probably heard me say it 1,000 times, is that stay top of mind. Like, be active in your marketing, in talking to people, in educating people, because your customers and clients might not need you today, tomorrow, or next week, but when the time comes that they do want to spend or invest money, and you've been top of mind, you're at least going to be part of their choice, because you've been there. If you haven't, compare that to your competitor who's done nothing. It's
100%.
common sense, right? If you've been top of mind, you have a better chance of success.
100%. And it's not even top of mind of the client you're thinking of. You know, you imagine everyone does social media now. So if you're not on social media, but you say, I need a painter, Hayley's on social media. If you haven't seen us, you would have, or your other friends or relatives or family would have. Someone would have seen and said, oh, I always get something from them. They're top of mind. So it's a no-brainer now. As I said, when I started, people used to do one, put an advert in a paper and that's it. Now there's, I don't know, maybe 6 or 10 things you do, fishing rods in the pond, as you say.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. You need all these little avenues, and they all work in their own little way at different times.
And some, like, our consultants always get the question, like, what's measurable and what's not? Some is very measurable, some is not, but it's got to all work together. So when a client will say to a consultant, oh, can we pull that out and can we pull that out of a plan? That's not how it works. No. It all needs to work together, and all these touch points need to work together, because a customer or client, you might want to see them across a few touch points, not just one, to help them to decide on whether you're the right business for them.
100%.
I think the biggest thing about marketing for premium painting is also the collaboration between you and us.
Yes.
We always have the consistency where we send out the EDMs, do the social media posts, but it's very tailored for the time of the year.
Yes.
And
100%.
to the specific audience as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important, and why is it so successful for you? That's a huge contribution.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's so flexible. I mean, when something changes, we're in a position to act really quickly, aren't we? So that's another great asset of it.
And I think by having a plan, you're allowed to change things quickly, because you have those good foundations.
Yeah.
And working with you in that consultative approach allows that, like what you said, that collaboration to actually just make it work and get stuff done quickly.
Because you're the expert in your industry, right? And you often bring up things that we don't know. So, for instance, Dectember.
Yeah. Or, exactly. Yeah.
Like we wouldn't know unless you being in the industry actually mentioned to us that.
What is Dectember? Tell us.
It's one of the manufacturers thought of it. Cabot's. They make decking stains.
Yes.
And that Dectember is like start of spring.
Right. So
start of spring, everyone's going to start using their decks again, barbecues, etc. So they do a promotion where get your deck done in September.
And are we doing stuff for you on that?
So we usually do a newsletter or some of our marketing every year for December. So
good work, Cabots.
So
there's a free plug for them.
Yeah, but that's just shows you how being flexible you can do all this. So it's good.
Let's talk. You obviously have a network, friends, business owners. What is there a characteristic that you see of that network that makes a successful business owner? Is there one thing that stands out for you when you look at all of them, or a couple?
They don't. I think successful people in business do not think they've ever made it.
Yeah.
You never finish the journey.
Love it.
And you just keep going, and you're still looking at new avenues, new ways, new ideas, or trying stuff that you haven't tried yet. I think the day when you think, that's it, I'm done, I've reached the top or whatever, is the day you start plateauing and dropping backwards, because there's always other people who are going to keep moving. And it's not something you need to strive to do. It's just an interest. If you're interested in business and interested in change, and don't be afraid to change, because the world's changing every day. You just got to look what's changing in your area and think, okay, I need to come along with this. What have I got to do?
So being passionate and driven.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can't buy that. You've either got it or you don't.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Maybe you can get trained in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is. You've got to have a passion in it. Whatever business it is, you've got to want to see it move on. And it's not the money. It's not. It's the movement and growing. And as the business changes, and you want to see it change and grow.
I hear a lot, read or listen, that as business owners, you always want, when you start to see you've created something, you then want to move on to the next kind of shiny object. Well, I've kind of achieved that. So what else can I, how else can I improve on things? Yeah. Do you feel like that's you?
Kind of, a little bit, yeah. There's always, as I say, I never want to sit back and go, that's it, I've got everything going now.
Yeah.
There's always something you can look at, to improve, whether it's the training, whether it's recruitment better, whether it's whatever, you can get the marketing in place, but if you've got your recruitment wrong, you're still not working efficiently, so you need, there's always something can be improved, I think.
For sure.
All right, let's get emotional. So is there a person that you would like to thank?
I'd like to thank
for your success and
your
business
journey. One of the first people I'd say is the guy I mentioned earlier on when I first started painting over in Australia. His name was John Howard, funnily enough. He's retired now. However,
So is this guy? Is this the door guy or the printing guy?
No, this is the guy who I used to paint for.
Oh, sorry.
So he showed us a lot of. He had a very entrepreneurial brain about him, and he would get all different jobs for not just a certain sort of client. However, he got to a level when he was happy at that level, but it showed me that you can kind of do whatever you want if you set your mind to it. Yeah. So, and I see what he had done, and I thought, well, I want to do that and take it another level. And so I'd have to look at him to start with, but then there's the guy who got us out to paint the door. But a historic houses trust.
Story. That's a great story.
There's the guy in the print shop. There's all sorts of things that have helped. So the guy, the master painters, who invited us to join them. That was a big move for me as well at the time. So there's many different things.
But people say, I often hear people the whole thing. Oh, that person always has good luck. You create your luck by doing stuff.
Yes.
It doesn't just come to you.
Yes.
You've got to have good energy, but you've got to do stuff.
Yeah.
And then things will gravitate towards you. You make it happen.
You make opportunities.
And by working bloody hard as well.
Very rarely opportunities come knocking at your door. You've got to be out in the right place.
Yeah.
And if you're out in the right place, you're going to be doing it at the right time every now and then. And in the right place, right time.
For sure.
Grabs you an opportunity. So
for sure.
That's what you got to do.
I agree.
Let's get even more emotional. So highest moment and lowest moment in business.
Okay. Lowest moment would be, I think lockdown was pretty low because we didn't have a clue what was coming. No one did. Everyone was very...
but you're still pretty positive.
But that was the lowest moment, I think, because at that point, I remember a couple of weeks thinking, where's this going to go?
Yeah.
How long is this lockdown going to go for? Is it really going to go all the way and we're never going to work for 6 months?
And is it the uncertainty for your team as well?
Yeah, that's probably more of it. I had a few people I had sponsored from overseas. A lot of guys just didn't have a clue whether they're going to have to go home, so it's a massive move for them. It wasn't just 6 weeks off. It was like, I'm going to have to move back to the country I come from. And so that was big. However, we got through that. But highest moment was probably before then. Dulux Accredited Awards, I think in 2016. I'd entered the awards, should I say, not applied, 3 or 4 years in a row beforehand and never won anything, just got highly commended. I'd done it this particular year, it's in Melbourne, 750 Dulux accredited companies, annual conference in Melbourne. the award ceremony had started. I was waiting for someone who was coming with me, and they was late, so I was just waiting, agitated in the bar, waiting for them. Someone said, "I think you better get in there. They're just naming awards." And as I walked in, they read Premier Painting for the first award, which was great. So I didn't even get to my table. I went straight up.
Did you still have your beer in your hand?
I actually put it there, but I actually didn't get to my table. I walked straight up, collected the award, said a word. By the time I got to my table, they read out the second one. I was back again. And we won 3 awards in a row.
Wow. 3 categories:
sustainability, best customer service, and best workmanship. I think it was 3 in a row. So
love it.
Very
so that for me was probably the highest accolade you could get for a painting company at the time. It's a national award for all over the country.
Yeah.
So it's really good. 3, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess it's just reward for the hard work, right?
Yeah.
It's not about that people are congratulating you. It's about the fact that you've been doing this at that point for say 20 years, and you're thinking like all that hard work is paying off, and you can now leverage the credibility around the awards too, right?
And that's
more marketing.
That helps, exactly, and that gives more trust and more, everything else. So that was probably my high point. Yeah, so that was good.
Yeah. Okay. Going back in time, all those years, 1997, is there anything that you would have done differently or wish someone had told you, or a piece of advice they'd given you?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, experience and knowledge now is a great thing, but at the time, didn't really know much about how to structure a company. So I'd structured my company slightly differently from the beginning. I would have got marketing very early on rather than just putting an advert in the paper and hoping. Yeah. It took me a while to realise the benefits of a marketing plan, an annual marketing plan, and partnering with a good marketing company.
Is that a plug for us?
Yeah, there's a plug there for little marketing. So I think your structure, your marketing, and training the guys. I think that over the years, we've had lots of painters come and go. Many of them have been with us a long time, but I've realised the benefit now of upskilling your staff is massive. So I would carry on what I started that a lot earlier. Had I known how important it is.
You mentioned staff before when COVID hit and the uncertainty around staff, visas, what are they doing, they're going to stay, they're going to go. I think people that aren't in business underestimate the value that most good business owners have on their team, and the emotion that business owners go through with their team. I don't think team members realise that. Like these days, like 50 years ago, a lot of bosses didn't care about their team members, but these days it's different. Like it's an emotional attachment. You know that you're paying them. They're using that money for their kids, for their mortgage, for their holidays. So you feel a bit accountable to that. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? You've got 25 of them.
100%.
25 babies.
Yes, yeah. It is 25 phone calls a day sometimes from them. So, but it's it's great. It's great that my daughter actually said to me the other day. She's at uni in Canberra, and she actually said, "How good is it that you've got X amount of people on massive amounts of money?" As in, they've gone from painters to supervisors to estimators to project managers, and they've grown, and they're now getting a good living.
And you've through you.
And I mean, I didn't set out to do that, but it's just natural growth, and it's good. It's good that you feel you can be part of their life and their journey, which is what we are. So
100%.
Yeah, it is good.
What's a tangible piece of advice that you could give to business owners listening or watching today?
Get advice of experts. Because most people start a business, try and do everything themselves, which is pretty obvious because you can't afford to take on all this at the beginning. But you got to remember, I'm a painter. I know painting. I don't know marketing. I don't know business structure. I don't know law. So you pay people the right money to get the right advice. Don't try and do it yourself or listen to inexperienced people, because you're just throwing good money after bad. So I think the best way to get the right setup in everything is go to professionals and get the right advice.
They always say you think it's expensive to pay a professional, wait till you pay an amateur.
Yes.
And see what it
and then go to a professional.
ends
So
up
you
like.
just wasted a load of money beforehand. So that'd be the biggest bit of advice.
Last question. Final words of wisdom for everyone listening. From Tony Conway.
From me, enjoy your business. Get it to a position where you can enjoy it. It's very hard at times, but think in your head what it needs to look like for you to enjoy business. Once you see that picture, you can start putting things in place so that you can enjoy it, because once you start enjoying it, it's a lot easier and a lot better.
Great ending. Tony, thanks for being our
Thank you very much.
guinea pig first in-person podcast. Hopefully everyone got lots out of today. Make sure you subscribe, follow, share, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts with other small business owners. Tony, thanks for coming
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Tony.
much, Hayley.
Just a reminder, to get even more out of today's episode, go to the show notes to find the link or visit littlemarketing.com.au where you can download a worksheet with the key points discussed in today's episode. This is so that you can make your own notes around some of the things discussed, get your marketing moving and start implementing. Again, thanks for listening and have a great day. Please note that all the information provided on this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to be specific advice to your individual situation. Please be sure to engage a professional for a customized approach to your business and personal circumstances.